I'd like to welcome you to our workshop today, The Secret to Unbreakable Mental Resilience Around a Toxic Boss. So perhaps you have been experiencing your manager as having the ability to tweak a remote control over your nervous system. And every time they do something, they say something, and it just feels like you're completely powerless and your body reacts in ways that makes you appear completely vulnerable or completely weak in front of the difficult manager. So today I'm going to be sharing a strategy that will help you disconnect or rewire those buttons so that the manager would lose that easy access to your nervous system. So you are in the right place if work stress has been feeling more dangerous than it used to be. If your emotional reactions at work has been feeling perhaps more disproportionate to the real situations you're going through. And if you find yourself just constantly bracing for defense, always thinking about how you're going to protect yourself, always thinking about how you're going to defend yourself against something the manager will do, almost feeling like you are being cornered all the time. This is perhaps especially true if you've had a breakdown before and the breakdown was caused by a difficult manager, and then you've recovered, went back to work, but then now find that everything that you could do normally before, all the things that you could cope with before, you're no longer now coping with it, especially on those days where the manager is around. So at the end of this webinar today, my promise is that you'll be able to walk away with a strategy that helps you to be able to reach inside your body and switch off the stress responses on purpose. So be able to switch off the internal panic at will and be better able to control your sleep. Because we all know how when we are struggling, the sleep is perhaps the most important thing that we need to be able to just function for the rest of the next day. Because if your sleep is sucked, you're struggling with the sleep, you just find that you don't have the energy, you just feel exhausted and tired for the next day. And then if the manager is now becoming problematic, you don't have energy, you are not sleeping very well, it just becomes a bit of a loop that feeds off itself because you lose the ability to function properly. And if you're not functioning properly, you have a better chance of making mistakes. And if you're now making mistakes, your manager now has things that they can pick on, suppress those buttons that even make you feel more vulnerable. You see how that loop is flowing. So for those who have just come to and met me for the first time, just kind of say a little bit about me and why am I able to talk about this problem or talk to solutions about this problem. So my name is Adewale Ademuwa, the founder of StressTherapist.net. I'm a licensed consultant psychotherapist, and I've been working in the mental health field for over 30 odd years, supporting people with different conditions, but specifically specializing around high functioning, depression, trauma difficulties, personality difficulties, and all forms of anxiety disorder. I've helped over 1,600 people break out of the survival mode problem where we're just trapped living life surviving, using my 4 forces framework, just so that they can stop sacrificing themselves in an effort just to keep functioning or keep meeting up with the demands that life is placing. So over the next 90 days, I'm starting this pattern breaking room for people who are just exhausted from just holding it together. People who want to just learn how to start thriving under whatever the pressures that they're managing. So my current passion is helping to create a world where everyone has a personalized emotional support in their pocket. And I say in their pocket so that um, I'm using my knowledge of psychotherapy and AI to develop tools and systems for people to be able to learn to manage their own emotional health. So that is about me. So for today, we'll be looking at a special kind of pressure cooker. And this pressure cooker, we know that the pressure cooker, it has a force that is pressing on whatever is inside it to kind of soften and pressurize it. But this pressure cooker is actually two-faced. It's double-faced. So there's a pressure that's been applied by the manager, but unfortunately, there's another pressure that's been applied internally by our own selves in this situation. So there's a belief system that somehow there's something that your manager is expecting from you that is placing pressure on you. But there's also a belief system somehow that something about your own ability to cope is also placing pressure on you. Now, this may show up in so many different ways. It may show up in you feeling almost like you've got to try harder, you've got to push better, you've got to show up looking strong, looking happy. Um, you've got to put more time into things, finishing up the tasks that are given you. But internally, you are sort of feeling like something about you is about to break. It's just constantly feeling like, oh, you're not going to cope. And the image that comes to my mind, I don't know if you've seen the cartoon Wallace and Gromit, and there's this particular famous scene where he's on a train, and as the train is moving, he's quickly laying the track of the train, so to stop the train from collapsing. And sometimes our work experience, especially when we have a difficult manager, can feel like that, like we're constantly trying to lay those tracks so that we don't break down, trying to put things in order so that things doesn't fall apart and show us up. So I just kind of wonder, first of all, Abigail, can you relate to any of what I've described so far?
Yes, it's actually relatable. I'm a little distracted because I'm sending out things for people to come online. So, but yes, you feel like you're going all the time, and you know at some point you can feel like you're going to come apart, but you keep going because you're thinking, well, how many minutes if I don't keep going, it's going to create more problems. Whereas not recognizing keep going without having a time to reflect, for example, on the
Exactly.
pressure that you're going through, or a time to reflect so that you can um find out way that you could cope better with it. You don't have time for that because you keep going, going, going.
Exactly.
So the bit
Exactly.
of reflection allows you to kind of step back, and then you're able to see things a bit better. But yes, I've been in the position where I feel like I'm on what they call the wheel, that you have that thing that looks like a mouse that goes around on, but on that
Yes.
treadmill, going, going, going.
Yeah.
On.
Treadmill. Yeah. Yes. So as we're saying, there's the two pressure, that external pressure from the manager that demands the criticism, the unpredictability, and then the internal pressure from yourself, which is the frantic um, laying of the track to try and prevent things from falling apart. But quite often, the biggest reason why this pressure is there particularly the internal one, because let's say the only pressure that was there was the external one that the manager is laying, and there wasn't that internal pressure that was pushing you. Um, you might find yourself coping a lot better. But that internal pressure is often created by a number of things. One thing that creates it is a perhaps a tendency to have standards. If you have certain standards where you feel maybe you're from a family where you've been taught that when you do a good job, when you do a job, you have to do it very well. And that standard makes you push yourself to do things to 110% a lot of the times. Or if you've had an experience that has actually made you have to take time off sick, not necessarily because you were physically unwell, but because you just found you were breaking under the pressure and you had to take time off sick. Now, when you're back to work, that memory of the time that you've taken off sick starts to play in your mind as, oh, I hope I don't push myself to that stage where I'm going to fall apart again and not able to cope and have to kind of take time off sick again. So this is where there's a trick of the mind that's being played. And this trick is created by this belief that stress is the danger. And I say this is a big fat lie because, yes, we've been taught from childhood that stress can be a problem. Be mindful that you don't push yourself too much to get to a point of where you are stressed because it's going to break you down. And sometimes many people would go through life just not even taking this seriously. And sometimes people may even think, oh, this is not really true. I'm actually emotionally stronger than this. It's not going to be a problem for me until something really pushes us down that line. And we've had the experience with stress that has caused a bit of a breakdown. Now we're feeling in our mind that, okay, so there's something about me that makes me vulnerable, makes me perhaps more vulnerable to stress than people who seem to be coping a lot stronger around me. But the belief that stress is the danger itself becomes part of the problem, and I'll then explain why. You see, within all of us, we have a set of systems that actually is built to help us buffer stress. You can think of this, stress can be a motivator, you say, Abigail. So when it becomes distressing, then it starts to cause a problem. True. Yes, so within all of us, we have a set of hormones and systems that actually acts like a buffer to stress. You can almost think of this like if you think of a wheel, a rubber wheel that's just rolling. Now, if that rubber wheel was stuck to a metal as the rubber wheel is rolling, it's going to heat up and perhaps even burn and burst, right? But now, if you put some cushion between the rubber and the metal wheel, the cushion now protects the rubber from burning. You can think of these hormones that are supportive as hormones that act as a cushion between stress and our body. So these hormones, there's oxytocin, but there's also DHEA. So you can think of stress hormones like the cortisol is almost like a break it down hormone. It breaks things down. So it fills your body with a lot of energy. It raises your blood sugar. It suppresses your immune systems, and it actually suppresses your body's ability to repair itself. Now, it's doing all that because it needs to take the energy from the repair system to the fighting system or running system or fleeing system. So if you are constantly in that state where cortisol is breaking things down to give you the energy to fight and run, what happens is DHEA and oxytocin take a backseat. But not in the way we would think. Because this is very interesting. Because if you go to a country, you go to a country that has maybe farming, or even that has long-term war. The stress going on, that is quite huge for them, but you often find that they seem to often be coping better than people like in England or America, where there's not that kind of pressure and stress. It's often because in their own experience, the way they are experiencing stress actually enables them to still use the DHEA and oxytocin as a buffer. And to explain this, there is a research that was done by a Dr. Alia Crumbs. And this research looked into how the belief of what stress is doing to you actually creates what stress does to you. So they did this research and had two groups of people. Group one, they were taught to see stress as a dangerous thing. And group two, they were taught to see stress as a supporting and helpful thing, just like you said earlier on, Abigail. So what they then found was, after putting both groups into a stressful situation that was similar, they now tested them to see how much stress hormones were in the body. The group that was taught that stress was dangerous had a lot of stress hormones in their saliva. The group that was taught that stress was helpful had no stress hormone in their saliva. So it turns out that when you believe that stress is bad for you, that very belief itself actually starts making stress bad for you. It changes your body physiologically and causes your body to not produce this DHEA and oxytocin. So you can think of DHEA as the build it back up. It builds back, supports your tissue repairing. It helps your brain to grow. It dampens stress, inflammation. And oxytocin gives you a sense of safeness, a sense of support, a sense of connection. So imagine when those are not there, that's when stress becomes a problem. Can I just check with you, Abigail, if my explanation there has made sense?
Yes, it does actually.
Cool. So particularly, this is useful because even if you're not thinking that stress is the problem, if you're thinking that anxiety is the problem you struggle with, or you're thinking that sadness or depression is the problem you struggle with, or maybe thinking that you struggle with more just getting angry and frustrated, it still comes back to making you believe that something is affecting you, which then creates the stress is not good for you type of feeling. And then switches of these hormones are supposed to be buffering and supportive. So really what we're saying here is stress is not the problem. That is the doubt that we have about our body's ability to function and cope under stress that creates this situation that our body is not supporting us anymore. How does this now relate to working in a situation with a difficult manager? So the difficult manager is pressing your buttons constantly. But now you're believing that stress is going to be dangerous to you. And now that is switching off the things that will buffer you and make you actually more resilient within the experience of the difficult manager. So your body, your cells are actually being affected harder because it's being broken down consistently with nothing supporting the build back up. Hence, it becomes a flywheel that just depletes you until you just find you just can't face another day at work. So, what do we do with this? Now, most people fall into one trap that they think the process is to do things like meditation, go for walks, do breathing techniques. This is a paradox because they all have a way that they work, but something is missing. And most people don't realize that something is missing. I had a client who was a master at meditation. And when I say master at meditation, he could bring his his heart rate to almost a calm, quiet standstill in seconds with meditation, but yet his fear of anxiety never got resolved. So whilst going for walks are good, whilst breathing techniques are good, they actually don't heal the problem. You can think of these like the doorway to the healing solution. In other words, when you do these things, there's something else you need to do to start to actually heal the experience properly. Otherwise, what's happening is you just got to the door, opened the door, and instead of going in, you shut the door and went back out. So you don't get the full benefits of the solutions that would actually help you be more resilient and more mentally strong in this situation. So that brings me to the two-layer model. So the two-layer model, layer one is the surface calming, which is the thing everybody does, the thing everybody they're told to do. So I'm not necessarily saying that is bad, but that's just the first thing we do. And I'm saying this it's very important to say this because sometimes people will try to do the things in the layer two and find that they can't do it, they can't feel it, they can't experience it. But the reason they can't experience it is because they actually needed to do the layer one before they do the layer two. So in other words, before you can do deep body regulation things and actually have it feel it is working, you've got to come down to a calm state first. Can I just check if what I've explained there makes sense, Abigail?
Yes, definitely. Because if you don't follow the first step, and it's like if you've been in a calculation, if you don't follow the steps ready, you just jump in. There's a second step. You wouldn't have a correct answer for it, isn't it? It's like you passing for example, you got the alphabetical order.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Jump to E and you've left A. How is that supposed to solve the problem? Is what you're saying today.
Exactly. So we can say that it's almost like the body, the emotional state of the body has like an A-B setting where the A is you doing the things that allows the deeper regulation to really work. So, and I like the way you mentioned about just imagine you have a kind of calculation problem. So if you had a calculation problem to solve and you don't follow the formula and the process, you might not be able to get to the answer properly. So just want to kind of welcome Chaplain to the group. So today we're sort of looking at the processes for building emotional stamina when you're faced with a difficult manager. And we're talking about the mistakes people tend to experience, the mistakes people tend to fall into as they're trying to manage this problem. Because if you think about it, you have a difficult manager that you're trying to work with. If your body and your mind is not fully supporting you in that process, it's just going to be hard. It's just going to be hard to fight that battle. It's like getting in a ring with someone who is extremely strong and agile, but your body and your mind are not helping you in this process at all. So we've highlighted an important concept, which is that one of the biggest traps is the belief that my body can survive stressful situations properly like it used to. And this situation comes about because the experience you've had with difficult managers may have caused you to have a breakdown before. And that belief, now that it creates a belief system that somehow something about me won't cope under these types of pressure. And when that is there, adding a difficult manager to that kind of situation it becomes almost like you have two things pressing you. So this creates a pressure cooker effect. So what I'm now kind of just saying is that in order to break this problem down, we have to figure out how we can work differently with stress. Because the belief that stress can affect us badly actually creates a hormonal deficit, removing the hormones that actually help us fight against stress. So the more I think stress is bad for me, I think anxiety is bad for me, or I think depression is bad for me, the more I'm thinking that I can't cope, the more the systems, the biological system that actually should help me to cope gets taken out away, because my body goes into fight mode consistently. And when I'm in that fight mode consistently, I'm being drained. And when I'm being drained, then my sleep, I lose the ability to sleep properly. I lose the ability to focus properly. I lose the ability to actually follow through with a task this manager is giving me. So I'm making more mistakes. And if I'm making more mistakes now, the manager has something they can pinpoint as to actually criticize me more, and creates a flywheel, that loop that then makes me feel I have to be on my toes constantly because this person is watching me. Right. So when I was saying that, when people now come to this point where they're trying to start to cope, they usually fall into a second trap. And this trap is that they believe that they've got to do things to calm themselves down emotionally. So they go for walks, they read about meditation, they learn to meditate, they learn to do deep breathing, they learn to do things where they can step away and calm themselves down. And that's where most people stop. But when you stop like at that point, what's really happening is you're going to experience a yo-yo effect. In other words, you keep yo-yoing back into stress. And if you keep yo-yoing back into stress, the situation, you just go back to work, the situation pushes you back up into stress. You get stressed again. You start to do the deep breathing and all of this again. Now, what I'm saying here is, it's not that these things are bad, but these are just the first layer of activities we need to do to become emotionally resilient. We need to now do the second layer, which is the deeper regulation layer that now cements our ability to be mentally strong. So that brings me to this three system inside us. So this is a theory that was created by Paul Gilbert, the father of compassionate CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. So the idea here is we all have these three systems within us: the threat system, the drive system, and the safety system. And they're all very important, because if you don't have the drive system, for example, you won't be able to feel driven to do things. So the drive pushes you towards the goals you want to achieve. So you may not want to go to work because of that difficult manager, but then you think, okay, if I don't go to work, I won't be able to pay my bills. I won't be able to eat. I won't be able to look after my children. And that becomes the thing that pushes you towards that goal. The threat system, now again, it's quite similar. That you feel that they're threatened by experiences that could go wrong. That also pushes you towards the goal. And then the safety system, this is where we feel secure, attached, connected. So all these three must be present. But what tends to happen for most people is that they're either living in either just one or two of these three most of the time. So you're either living in drive and threat, never really being in safety or soothing spaces. And if that's the case, you're going to be completely imbalanced. And ironically, there are people who just spend a lot of their time just being in the safety soothing space consistently. They are not allowing themselves to be in the threat or the drive states as much. But that also creates problems, because one, you just find that you are procrastinating on a lot of things. You find that life is not moving forward and you're just feeling stuck all the time. So when we stay in any of these systems alone, we are often feeling like we are stuck. The only time where we feel that we are moving forward, whether emotionally, mentally, in life, is when we are actually working with the three consistently in a balanced way. Can I just check with people if my explanation of these three systems and how it's working in these type of environments makes sense? You could just type in, it could make sense, or you could use the mic, or you could use the thumbs up. Welcome, Adishola. It's good to have you here. Right?
Thank you.
Cool. Let's check in. Does it not make sense, Abigail Chaplain? Let's just thumbs up. It does. Good. Cool.
I find it that somehow while you're talking, I can see it like the stimulus that we have, like the fight, fright, and freeze. I'm as you're talking, I'm looking. It's similar. It's not the same, but that's the way I'm seeing it as you're talking. I picture it in my head.
Right. Yes. Okay. So you can actually see the flight, fight, and freeze might live in the threat and drive zones. Yes, definitely. Whereas the safety is more about feeling warm, feeling secure, feeling able to just be contented with the space you are in. And so whilst it may feel a little bit like a freeze, it's not so much freeze because it has more of a positive energy, except that there's a positive energy that it can make you be so comfortable that you don't move anymore if you don't go into the drive and threat. So this is where this next slide is important. I put out this video in the last week, the idea that negative thoughts or negative memories, they are not the enemy. They're actually the gym equipment we use for building resilience. And we want to kind of be able to use this concept to bring about being able to move fluently between those three states: threat, drive, and the safety system. Now, this is why this is important. So imagine you're just going through your day, just thinking everything is fine, and then all of a sudden, bam, the manager does something again that triggers you. It's totally unexpected. And because it's totally unexpected, you didn't plan for it. You just immediately triggered activated into this threat state. Right. Because you didn't plan for it, you didn't prepare for it, it almost feels impossible to manage. The situations come upon you without any warning. So we need to create a system where we can practice and train our brain to be able to face and deal with those unexpected situations in a very strong way. And this strategy that I'm about to teach you now is the strategy that would actually make it physically possible to build the mental resilience that when those situations happen unexpectedly, you actually feel strong to be able to resist the negative pressure created by the manager. So first of all is using negative thoughts and negative memories as gym equipment. And I'll explain how that works as we go through the presentation. So we've said we had to follow a two-layer process. So the first layer process is doing the normal thing that they'll tell you to do, the calming exercises, the breathing exercises, the relaxation exercises, polyvagal exercises. We're doing those because without doing that, it can sometimes feel very hard to be able to enter the second layer, which is where we activate the hormones that support our body to cope. So, the second layer then is where we activate the oxytocin. We do an activity to activate the oxytocin. I would like to take you all through this process today, just so that you can see it, you can feel it, you can see how it works. Because quite often when you just talk through it in a very theoretical way, and you can feel it, it doesn't quite click until you feel the changes it's making in your body. So I want you to try and do this. I want you to try and recall an experience, a memory that you had with a difficult manager, or a difficult work colleague, or a difficult work environment. So a situation that whenever you bring it up, you can almost feel your blood boiling. Right. So can I just check with each person as I'm asking you to do this? Have you been able to locate a memory that is making you feel some of the frustration that you were feeling at the time? If yes, just do a thumbs up again. Thumbs up. Additional, cool. Anybody else? Abigail, good. Chaplain, good. And the last person, have you been able to kind of pick up a go? I know Samsung. Yeah, I don't know what your name is. You could put a thumbs up. Hope you understand what we're saying because I know you came in slightly later. Right. So now I want you to really focus on how that person or that situation makes you feel. I want you to focus on your body and where are you feeling the tension? Cool, cool. Right. So where are you feeling the tension right this moment in your body? It could be that you're feeling a little bit funny in your stomach. Maybe you're feeling the tension in your shoulders. Perhaps it's creating a little bit of a headache. Or maybe there's some feeling of tightness or blockage in the throat. You'll be feeling something, right? Can I just check with everybody? Are you feeling something as you're thinking about that experience? Stomach and shoulder, Abigail? I didn't. Additional, yeah, okay. Tightness in my chest, okay. Right, yes, okay. All right, okay. Increased palpitations, right, okay. So this is the feeling that we're feeling when the stress hormone is beginning to rise and actually push away the hormones that help us to cope in this environment. Now, I'd like us to now flip this now. I want you to try and remember. Actually, before we remember this, let's do the layer one. Because I was just about to make the same mistake that I'm telling you not to make. Let's do the layer one activity first of all. Let's try and do one of these things that perhaps will work for us. So maybe just take a deep breath. Just breathe deeply. Maybe breathe, count to 3 or 4. Breathe out, count to 3 or 4. Just breathe, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I'm going to ask you to do this. This might feel a little bit strange. Okay. Abigail has smelled Alba's oil for relief, right? So, so these exercises, as I said, this is the first stage. And this is a stage where people will just think, okay, this is all I have to do. But this is where the mistake is, as we're saying. If you can do this first stage and get to that initial calm, that's good. Now, the next stage needs us to now find a memory, now a different memory, or thing. So a memory that helps us to feel soothed and safe. Now, many people will have different things that does this for them. So I had a client who, thinking about, because he just had a baby daughter, and thinking about his baby daughter on his chest, with her warmth and the breathing, the experience, that feeling started to create a sense of safeness, a sense of connection, and actually smelling her that baby oil. Whenever he holds her there, he feels safe and soothing. So another client, it was a memory of swimming with dolphins. So whenever she brings that memory in, she can almost smell the way the water was smelling, the smoothness of the dolphins when they came near her. That memory creates a soothing feeling. Another client, it was the smell of banana cake, because mom used to cook with banana cakes quite a lot. Whenever she came home from school where she's been bullied, she comes home and smells the banana cake. Another client with the smell of pepper, because grandma used to cook with pepper, and grandma's home was the place that felt safe. So I want you to see if you can pick up anything in your memory where that experience or thing makes you feel safe and soothed. You can almost feel a warmth in your chest when you think about it. Can you pick up anything? Has been able to pick up anything in? Can I just have thumbs up if you've been able to find a memory that's creating this feeling that I'm describing? See nobody yet? Standing by a quiet creek and watching the soft waves. Does that for you, Abigail? Great. So just checking for Adeshola, and I'm sorry, I'm calling you Samsung. Have you been able to find a memory that gives you that sense of soothing, safeness? And can I just check, is my explanation of how to get that feeling making sense to people? Okay, just recall Abigail.
It does, because in a sense, you're taking yourself out of this situation that is causing you distress, and finding a place that brings peace, reassurance, confidence. And once you get to that place, really and truly, if your heart was going like my stomach that was feeling tight in my shoulders after having that albasoy smelling, and then going back to a place of being quiet, peace, and tranquility, I feel much better.
Right. So what do you feel?
Oh, like, wow.
Yeah, what do you feel in your stomach right now as you bringing that soothing feeling now?
The nuts that was there that was causing it to feel tight, it's
Evaporating, exactly. So this is an experience your body is having, and if you think about it, we've moved from a stressful feeling to a safe, soothing feeling, and we've done that by will. And we've done that by will. And this is the mental gym where we are using the negative experience, but we're also using a safety soothing experience. And what we then do is we alternate between these two states. Practice bringing both states back. This is like it's like we're carrying dumbbells. And the more we do this, you start to feel able to just switch these states at will. Um, you, so I'll have clients who perhaps before they start practicing this, they would never be able to know how to cope in high pressured states. But once they've been practicing this over and over again, within seconds, they can switch from feeling threatened to feeling safe and secure, even though the threat is still in front of them. Now, this is very important to state now. We are not necessarily trying to trick the body that you are safe and secure. We're trying to help the body feel safe and secure so that you can cope with the pressure that's in front of you. And there's some pressure that we need to feel threatened and feel unsafe so that we can run away. That's very important. But when you are faced with an email that you have to complete because of the clients you're dealing with, for example, and a manager is monitoring you and asking you to copy them in, and the anxiety you're feeling in that state, you need a sense of calmness to help your brain to be able to focus clearly. Otherwise, you will be feeling a lot of brain fog that will cloud your ability to actually do the task that you're trying to do, right? So this strategy can help you just access a sense of calmness, and then it can allow you to focus and do the work, although it's still under high tense pressure. So the more you are able to call upon this healing, because really what you are doing is that you are literally activating the oxytocin and the DHEA that I mentioned earlier that helps you to replenish your system and bring you into a safe state, right? So note that what we're saying is that we're actually not doing a transitioning process. First of all, we bring in the first layer do something to calm us down, then go into the second layer where we pull in the oxytocin. And then we're practicing by going into the threatening memory and bringing ourselves back into the state of safeness and calmness and soothing feeling, back to the threatening memory, and just keep doing that until it just becomes something that we can just do easily. Right. This is what gives us the mental agility to feel able to kind of withstand any kind of pressure. And I see this very, very consistently. So there's this client that came to see me because he had a major breakdown that made him have to stay out of work for almost 4 months. So now he got back into work, but still has to deal with the same manager. And before coming to see me, he felt that he was definitely going to have another breakdown because his stress levels were always 100%. His belief in himself and his ability to cope was always 100%. It wasn't so much that he was not someone who could do his work. He was a very intelligent person. However, under these circumstances, his performance, his output, everything, when you read it, when you see it, is like somebody who doesn't really know what he's doing. But that is only happening because his mental abilities, everything was not there to support him. So he started practicing these strategy that I'm kind of explaining to you. Now, whilst the pressure still felt hard, the pain from the manager was still present, he started to notice something change. He started to notice his ability to be able to think clearer. He started to notice his ability to be able to challenge the manager a bit more, because before his body just went offline, not able to support anything. So now you could actually think through some of the things that the manager was saying that were not necessarily so correct. Things that the manager would claim that had happened or claim is the correct solution. Now he's able to actually think, that's not so true. And be able to talk back a little bit and challenge a little bit, which then will decide to make the manager perhaps not so quick to jump on him, not so quick to challenge, because he was now having the ability to stand up for himself in a way that he couldn't do before. Although still, yes, it was still unpleasant, it was still difficult, but now he had this ability. So this particular strategy that we've learned today is one that will give you that kind of ability to start to feel a little bit more stronger emotionally, a bit more able to kind of withstand the pressure. So we got that daily practice. This is what I would suggest to you. Don't wait until you are in that stressful situation with your manager to now practice this strategy. Use the time at home to practice this many times. The more times, the better. So if, for example, if you were to practice this just one time every day for the week, you would not be as well prepared as the person who practices this 10 times a day, for example, for a whole week. After a whole week of practicing this strategy, you find that if you practice more times a day, your ability to just withstand your manager would have become almost stone proof, right? Which is where we want to be. Yes. So if you're still having in your mind that question, but how can this strategy really help me? Is the stamina that you're building as you're building this over and over and over again, that eventually becomes that thing that makes your body trust yourself. Because if your body now trusts you, like the strategy that we've learned today, you notice how you're able to bring a sense of calmness back. The more you do this, the more your body believes, the more your mind believes that you can bring yourself to a state of calmness. And if your body can believe that, you are naturally able to switch on your oxytocin. Your body is not fighting your DHEA. Your body is actually replenishing yourself. You are now in a mental state where you are coping a lot better, which means your sleep is improving, which means your ability to think straight is clearer. Your ability to function with hard tasks is clearer. All from the fact that you are now practicing something that's giving you more strength to combat a toxic manager. So what we're saying, your body was never the problem. It wasn't that because your stamina was just lost completely. It was just because it's been switched off, and the experiences that you were having with the manager was causing your system's ability to buffer itself, to protect itself, to get switched off. So I'm hoping this has all felt useful. Let me just kind of take a feedback from the group. How has this felt for you? Has it felt like, okay, you're taking something tangible away? Because this is what I'm hoping this has done for you. Are you taking something tangible away that you can actually begin to use in a practical way? Yes, says Adeshola. Cool. Okay about that. Anybody to brave enough to use it, you kind of use their mic and just tell me what they feel they're taking away from the session today? Abigail, you've been brave. So, okay.
What I was thinking I would take away is not seeing the manager's negative or toxic trait as something negative that I can't use in a positive way. In other words, flip the coin.
Wow, that's powerful.
See it as a motivator, and hopefully I'm motivated to go into this practice that you've now given me where I can switch from negative to positive, something calming.
Mm.
Feel that muscle, that muscle in my mind. Wow, we have muscles everywhere, isn't it?
Yes.
That when I'm in the actual situation, I can do exactly the same thing and become nice and calm to deal with the situation.
Exactly. Exactly. I really like the way you said use the negative experience that the manager is bringing as a positive tool. And this is the core idea I was sort of really hoping to drive home, so that thing the manager was thinking that they were using to break you becomes the same thing that you take and you use to strengthen yourself with this strategy. So yes, thank you, Abigail. So now for those of you who perhaps maybe joined us for the first time today, we have developed a pattern breaking room. I call this a pattern breaking room because we are learning different ways of overcoming the unhelpful patterns that we have learned over time that's causing us to not cope under different circumstances. This time around, we're focusing on dealing with toxic managers. So in this pattern breaking room, I give you sort of opportunities to talk through different things and open like a community where we can talk together about the different things that we've been going through, especially on the Sundays. So you can bring in questions or anything that you find, oh, this is useful, but I've tried to practice this, and I'm struggling with this. How can I address this? We can bring those questions into the community and talk through those issues. So this is a WhatsApp group that we set up. And if you have not been invited yet into that WhatsApp group, perhaps because maybe you haven't actually sent me your number or email, you can send your number and email to 07378942110. And within that group, I would also be releasing different tools for different strategies that will help for calming and for soothing and bringing back that sense of safeness as well. So this will be like homework that you can actually do as part of the week's work as you begin to build this muscle. So what's next? So what to expect in the next session? We focused on how to bring our body under our control so that we can feel stronger within ourselves as we're dealing with our manager. The next week, we're going to be looking at ways from stopping our mind itself from freezing and panicking because of the kind of things that we're still thinking, almost like a psychological part of the things that we're thinking. For example, I had a client who was so focused on you're asking me to do something that is impossible because this client was given a task to do. And in his own experience, because he's a very experienced guy, his experience, he believes that the thing that manager is wanting can't work. But the manager seems to not be listening, but he's not able to explain himself very well. And he's just caught in this situation where, okay, how am I going to cope in this situation? And his mind is making him feel like, okay, I'm going to end up in a situation where I fail. I'm being set up to fail. And when I fail, it's going to affect, it is me it's still going to affect. So the strategies that we're kind of learning in this third presentation, we'll be looking at ways to break through these kind of experiences that feel impossible. And the ways to not allow our brain, our mind to actually hold us back from succeeding in those situations where people seem to be layering traps for us.